He's put a unicorn behind my...
Oh my God, dude. That's the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh.
Just before Halloween, on Friday the 13th, you took and left a part of me back in your shadow.
Let's get rid of that. No, there we go. 12 a.m. Flowers. Hello there. Welcome along.
Hello.
Thanks for taking the time. Let's start with your name then that you have got there, because it's quite an unusual name, right?
It came about kind of just in a moment of paying attention to the universe. So I was in the studio with Alex Newport, who's a fellow Englishman from Birmingham. And once upon a time, he was in a band called Fudge Tunnel there, and he's also gone on to mix Death Cab for Cutie and stuff. And we were sitting mixing, and there was two papers sat on top of each other, and it said 12 a.m. and flowers, and it just, they were just sat wrong. And I looked down, and I thought to myself, I like that name, like that works, that conjures up some things, and certainly, I could make something to it. But dude, that record was initially, I had a record deal in Brighton over there with a record label called Trap. I had been in a band prior that had put music out through them called Ursula Point, which is a bit more of a shoegaze band. So they were waiting to put this record out, and I was having trouble with my bandmate, and so I was deciding to change the name. So that popped into my head, but some reason I didn't use it for that record. I put it out under the moniker The Drug Models Love, a little play on words.
Yeah.
And the label guy, sweet as he was, just didn't have it together to keep it going and rolling. And, the original CDs of The Drug Models Love are beautiful. He spent way too much money making it. I just wanted to do a 7-inch and tour over there. But it was like etched and laser etched. It was really nice. It looked beautiful. But because of that, I asked him to, I left the label, and I was like, can you pull those things down? So then at that point I was making another record, and I said, let me re-release that as 12 a.m. Flowers, and keep something that was going to stick around, a name that I can put things together. Prior to even that Ursula Points and all this, I was in the late 90s. I was in a band called the New Rising Suns, and we signed the Virgin and Capitol, and we did, big rock and roll stuff. I was in my early 20s when we signed the Capitol. Made the record with Ted Nicely, who was a producer who did Fugazi and Shudder to Think and bands like that. And Andy Wallace mixed it, who did Nevermind by Nirvana and stuff. We were supposed to be this big rock and roll band, but things got in the way. So oddly enough, 2 days ago, they were making a documentary about the band. So there's a film crew here shooting. So when I went back and released that as 12 a.m. Flowers' first record, then the one I just spoke about that I had issues with under the Drug Models Love name became the second record. Then there was the third full length.
You got to work with incredible people by the sounds of it.
I worked with Luther Vandross of all people with the New Rising Suns. After the New Rising Suns, I was also in a band called Dopo Yume, which had Sean Lennon in it and a few other guys and stuff. And then post that, I started playing on more guitar on other people's records. Well, the second record, I did everything, recorded, engineered, but mixed. Alex Newport did. It's a super electronic, really dark record. And it's called NYC now. It was called Slow Hope Parade when it was under the Drug Models Love thing. But now it's 12 a.m. Flowers, NYC.
There is slow drift, like a parting kiss, X with black magic.
And it's a very dark electronic record where it was a necessity record. I only used acoustics, which you'd never know. There's no bass on the record. It's a broken drum machine, and it sounds like electric guitars and everything. And so it's very basically simply done, but I really went out of my way to make it sound right. It was a very cathartic experience. A lot of it was done on the fly. It's a dark record though. I was in a dangerous headspace. So, but many people like it. the record after that is all strings and acoustics and very pretty that I did with Carl Glanville, who worked for U2 for years and also did the New Rising Suns record. He has Grammys for U2. I kind of stopped for a minute or played on other things, and then I started a band in 2017 called Twiggy Branches. Yeah, so it's supposed to be a character, a fake character, and
yeah, it sounds like you know, a drag queen persona, or you know, like Beyonce's got Sasha Fierce, you know, like that.
Yeah.
I was Mary Shelley in a past life. I was Mary Shelley. I was Mary Shelley in a past life. I was Mary.
It's a punk, straightforward band. The bass player, an old friend of mine, Christopher Pravdika, he's in Swans, you know Swans, the noise band. So he's in that. We went to high school together. We played together over the years. So it's me, him, the drummer from the New Rising Sun, Drew, who also played with Dead Heavens and Into Another. The guitar player is, other guitar players, this guy Phil Costello, who plays in the funny and great Witch Taint. Twiggy Branches got me back to where I started in metal and heavier music, and so it just kind of, when life was kicking me in the ass, I started writing the prettier stuff and all that, you know, pretty stuff. So I was like, I want to rock and harder and play the guitar more. And so with that, there's an EP from 2017. We released a full length last year and a single this year. So that band is currently still functioning alongside 12 AM Flowers. Now, we released the vinyl in Japan. We were supposed to do other things, but COVID came and labels backed out, and that was that. So within the month this year, we re-released the second 20th anniversary of New Rising Sun. So I should say I did. A Twiggy Branches single and that 12 AM Flowers single within 2 weeks this year.
Wow.
So, but the 12 AM Flowers, I just, you know, I wanted to do something way more fun, and I had the song written, and I heard it a little differently for Darling Darling. I heard it with more strings and stuff, but I tend to let things happen the way they're supposed to. And so when Justin and I, who engineered and mixed it, were in Charlotte, North Carolina, we just started messing around. It's like, you know, I'm hearing more electronic stuff, like, and so it just came out naturally. And I was like, okay, let's make this as catchy and great as possible. And it all, you know, it wasn't hard fought.
First undead to ghost. She's a sleepless midnight stroller through the words of Milton, Byron, and Poe. She's my dog.
So we do have 2 more songs I'm going to finish for the 12 AM Flowers EP. It's called As They Kiss Consume, and that's taken from Shakespeare. Twiggy Branches was meant, we pitched it as an animated television show initially, like that was the idea. So you'll see, my friend is a well-known and amazing comic book artist, and so he drew the second cover. Twiggy Branches is an insane person. He lives in an insane asylum, and he's convinced 3 other patients that they're the biggest rock band on the planet. And what they do is they hoard their meds, and then they take them, and he has a vision. They have visions, and then they go out on adventures. But they never leave the insane asylum. So there will be a cut to where, like, if they're playing in a fountain, for instance, they're playing in the toilets, or if they think they're somewhere. So the one character in it only spoke from the works of Shakespeare.
Where do you find yourself spending most of your time nowadays? Because you're in Florida right now. That's where you're living.
Yes, I'm in Tampa Bay. I've been here for almost 2 years now.
In your early career, you were working with a lot of names. Some of them were high school friends. Some were you know, in these other bands that you were getting to know and be a part of. Do you think those opportunities came because you were in New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we definitely worked. But you know, we actually had some talent, and so that helped. And then you just get in this. There was a scene. It was right place, right time for that. But I think the New Rising Suns were a little ahead of the scene, because after we broke up, when I joined Dopo Yume, we were in the same space as the Strokes, rehearsing, same building and everything, and the Interpol and all those guys. And so that scene really took off right then. Whereas the New Rising Suns were right before, and because we broke up, it just didn't catch on to that time. Yeah.
There's a definite sort of post-grunge thing that happened in the early 90s with the bands like the Strokes, White Stripes, this more raw, you know, the Hives, this more sort of
right
raw.
TV on the radio.
Reminiscent of the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely New York played a massive role in all of that. and where I'm at today. But it also played a role in when everything kind of gets hard in New York. It's hard. I'm 47 now, and so here I am being the most creative and having the most things. Like I said, 3 singles right now from 3 different bands coming out. You know, back then you thought you were done by 30, but the opportunities now, like what's happening now for me, like with radio play, I've you know, like yourself and things with the Twiggy Branches and so on, that would have translated far more with how much we're getting back then to now. The labels don't pay attention. It's not a TikTok hit. And so it's very different to see.
You've already got to be viral.
You know, funny enough, someone asked me a question, and, you know, am I making money doing this? And the answer was not even close, you know? So it's really impossible. And kind of to my point, it's like when we were signed back then and there was money, it was a different notion. And, you know, you did not have to work your day job and those kind of things. So now you gotta,
the only way making money now is merchandise and touring.
And now we're not touring. There's, you know, things are, although Florida is pretty open, but, you know, we were supposed to, Twiggy Branches was supposed to be in Japan, and that got shut down. And so our momentum got crushed, and, you know, so it's trying to rebuild within that. And, you know, I'm very happy people are listening and the airplay is coming. And it's just hard to put in perspective when you're not touring or playing and you can't see what's going on.
There is so much I'm gonna miss. Now that my baby's a Scientologist, all I ever really wanted was her back again. But love is a bubble.
You know, pandemic put so many tours on hold, and I've been speaking with other artists that even the ones that were doing the little clubs and just doing pub gigs, and they couldn't do that anymore. How do you see 12 AM Flowers and your other projects being shaped by this pandemic as we continue into it and hopefully through it?
Being in Florida, it's a strange place in terms of what is open and what is closed and what people want to do. So it's been a pretty much Wild West here. But you could play if you want here. People are out and doing, and they've been out for a long time. The smaller clubs now open, and you're going to have so many more bands vying for the one club that's open. And so it's going to become a bit of a nightmare. You know, a lot of people, I think, are going to stop. And then that's, you know, you start losing art. And to me, the music business was in rubble, and now it's just dust.
So what's the first thing you're going to do when you can is what, just get as many gigs as you can and go out with the guys and girls and just do it?
I'm kind of on the heels of wondering if I should continue in the live fashion. You know, it's put me in that point of questioning that kind of stuff and what it's worth, and is it too tiring? And I've toured a lot, you know, so technically I could have gone up to New York and we could have played, you know, and I didn't. So that says enough within itself. I think we were all it's caused a lot of fatigue. And as much as we want to, you know, go out, it's just like, it's a lot of work. And I know, like Chris, for instance, Swans was supposed to go out and they canceled. And so they're going to make a record next year, but that means that that's a whole nother year till they go out. And granted, you want to get something where people, you know, if there is the 4 or 5 people and it's not a trio, everyone's got to pay their bills. Yeah. And is there going to be a guarantee for every show, and, you know, and not lose money and not spend money just to come home, even if you come home even?
Also, it's tricky to broach those subjects and deal with them without being accused of, oh, you're just in it for the money.
Everything I've done to this point, I have done some home recordings, not to say I have home studios, so to speak, but I've also recorded in the big studios. But what I do regardless is I don't cut corners. And so if one day, just like the New Rising Suns 20 years later, something hits, it's all there. It looks good, it sounds good, it's ready to go, and I want it to be the best it can be. Now that could be said that that's my problem, because I want that to be the case. But in my short time here, in the short time all my art might last, you know, there's a little legacy to be set, you know, to be had. I don't have any children, and the odds are I'm not going to. And so that means there's no grandchildren to, you know, to be like, Granddad made this rock and punk record.
Wait, have you got any brothers or sisters who have had children?
I have a brother and a sister with no children.
Right.
So yeah, so there's no little youngins.
That was your uncle, that was?
No, I made a joke about that, and I did an interview, a written interview, and I said, you know, who knows, there'll be the time that maybe it's all in 25 years when someone discovers that I was misunderstood. The delicate flower genius.
I go out and DJ in clubs and bars where, you know, there's lots of people, and sometimes I look at myself and go, should I be here doing this? Now, I've done the miles. I think, well, I'm 50, so shouldn't I be stepping aside for the younger talent to come through? Should I feel guilty about taking that opportunity away from a really gifted 19-year-old?
I think many people don't contemplate it the way you are. So that's already a good start that you're questioning that. I mean, in the sense that, like, you have a heart. And I think the reality is you could bring along the younger talent, right? If you hit a place, right, you can showcase them. I think that gets lost on many people, that, like, but they could create a Twitter account that says Foo Fighters recommends, and just once a week even.
Yeah.
Showcase somebody that's never been heard. There'll be 50,000 people listening to that act.
Why aren't they doing more for younger bands? Maybe they are. Maybe they are. We just don't know about it.
Even if I meet someone or someone sends me music, I listen. I've always done that, and I always listen, and for a variety of reasons. One, are you good? Two, are you better than me? You know, like, there's that artist mentality. And three, if you are, let's connect. If I have by 50, say there is some success, right? And we have to make new music and this, you're looking at putting out another record. By the time that's done, supported, I'll be 53 during that time. I know that the window of my influence would be very limited. And so I'd take advantage of it to the most I could. Now, granted, I don't knock, you know, I love Maiden. You know, I mean, like, I've seen Maiden so many times, but I don't see any young bands with them and stuff like that. No, I mean, I don't, maybe it's just that old way of thinking that they don't control their social media. It just doesn't even strike them as to how the modern model works to help other bands. You know, that you could really stretch, one tweet could stretch one band's, you know, month of plays and get, you know, maybe sell them something.
Thanks ever so much.
Hey man, I really appreciate it.
Be safe, take care, mate. Thanks for your time.
Darling, send me kiss me before I go.
Yes, that's perfect. That makes me happy.
My love, my love.